Demon Slayer is making history. How will Hollywood respond? And I want to explore how I think Hollywood should respond. So, let me explain. The new Infinity Castle film just debuted in North America and it is breaking records. It is the most successful foreign film ever at this point. So, it's going to continue to make money and it will for sure be in the same level as Sinners, Superman, Fantastic Four, The Conjuring, all the biggest films so far this year. Hollywood will not be able to ignore it. So, I want to point out, because of course that means it's bigger than Mugen Train, that means it's bigger than anime films, it's bigger than Pokemon, but I want to point out a very specific film that it's bigger than: Godzilla Minus One. Now, Godzilla is live action, Godzilla comes from Japan. There has been Godzilla films in the United States, so Godzilla is very well accepted over here. So that film did really good, and if you remember, that movie was so big here. Everyone and their mother was going to watch this movie. It was all over the conversation in Hollywood. It was even acknowledged at the Academy Awards for special effects. And then on top of that, the director himself was invited to Lucasfilm for a private screening there. So I just want to highlight that this film was such a big deal. And look at how much it made in comparison to Demon Slayer. So Hollywood will not be able to ignore this. There's still a stigma with just the older generation and how they view anime. And I think that little by little they've been easing into it. You look at the One Piece Netflix adaptation that did pretty well. And there's been a few Netflix adaptations that have done okay. And I feel like after this film is done, because this film is the beginning of a trilogy. So when it's all said and done, the final film in this trilogy will probably be making really big numbers, like Avengers level numbers. The executives are going to want to tap into this because that's what Hollywood does. You look at Twilight, you look at Harry Potter, you look at that movement in the 2010s with young adult book adaptations. That was a whole thing, and then they exhausted that. And then you look at superheroes, obviously, until recently that was the biggest thing ever, and now they've exhausted that, and now they're trying to figure out, how do we revitalize the superhero genre, or how do we tap into something new? And I think they've been doing that with video games so far. It's still beginning, so we still haven't got that big one. Fallout was pretty good. Of course, Mario Brothers. They're adapting a Zelda film, Henry Cavill's Warhammer. So they're easing into the video game world. They're trying to figure it out. And as I've already said, they've dipped their toe in anime, but they haven't really gone for it. They haven't really committed to it yet. So what do I think they should do? I'm a little biased because it's my favorite anime, but I believe that a faithful cinematic adaptation of Attack on Titan is the way to go. The way I view it is this would be the equivalent of Game of Thrones for live action films. Game of Thrones was a worldwide phenomenon. It blew up, and it wasn't just because of the violence, the shock factor, the nudity. It wasn't because people love fantasy. You know, most people aren't really about that fantasy vibe. But the reason why it worked so well was because of the characters, because of the actual story, and because it was just such a specific type of story that people just couldn't help but watch. They couldn't help but tell their friends about it. And that show became so big because of word of mouth. Attack on Titan is the perfect story to do that because the world itself is not too weird. It's not too fantastical, where audiences that aren't used to anime are gonna just reject it because they feel it's too weird, it's too foreign. Attack on Titan is very German, Anglo-Saxon inspired. The fantasy element itself is not that crazy, it's just giants essentially. Of course, it gets crazier with its concepts, but not with the fantastical element. And I just feel like the story itself, I'm not going to get too much into the story. I have a whole video dedicated to why I believe Attack on Titan is the greatest anime ever and why it transcends the anime art form. So please check that out because I think it's a really good video. But Attack on Titan is genre blending. And I've said for years that I believe the future of cinema is genre blending. And in a way, Game of Thrones does that. Game of Thrones is fantasy, it's drama, it's a little bit of horror, and obviously it's war. And Attack on Titan is kind of like that. Attack on Titan is coming of age, it's adventure, it's obviously horror because of the flesh-eating titans, but it's also a war film almost. It gets into war territory, it gets into philosophy, and I just feel like this is the anime to adapt. This is the story to do. And then on top of that, the anime is 4 seasons, and there's not really filler. So it would be quite easy in a way to adapt it because you would just need to literally adapt it. You don't have to change that much. Of course, they're gonna leave some stuff out. They're gonna change some things because that happens in all live action adaptations. But for the most part, they don't really need to filter through it because it's all there. All that information is there. All that character development is already there. They could probably make it a 5 film series, maybe a little bit more, but I think 5 would probably be perfect. It's not just the story, it's also the tone, because anime has a lot of comedy, especially shonen anime. Attack on Titan happens to be like one of the most serious animes out there. People, when they think about anime, they just think about outrageous comedy. They think about sexualizing girls. They think about crazy power, screaming. And though that is kind of in Attack on Titan, it's very serious, it's very mature, it's very adult. And I think that's a big draw for the Dune films. Dune has like this very dramatic, very cinematic seriousness to it. And I just think Attack on Titan has that going for it. It has that Dune vibe. Of course, Atreus and Eren have similarities, so there's that story element that is also similar. But I just feel like there's just so many reasons why Attack on Titan would just be a cultural phenomenon. It really would be. I think it would be like the modern Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, MCU, where it would just be such a big thing financially, critically, all of it. This should happen. This needs to happen. I really want it to happen. My personal pick would be Alex Garland to do it, because I think he's an incredible filmmaker and he's a fan of Attack on Titan. But he's tied up with Elden Ring right now, so probably not. But someone like that, someone who's a visionary, someone who truly loves storytelling and that's open to all forms of storytelling and doesn't view anime as lesser. Because obviously, look at Alex Garland. He obviously loves cinema. He's written his own novels. He's adapting a video game. You know, like, Alex Garland is a very open-minded man, and I feel like we need someone like that, not just an anime fanboy, because fanboys don't always make the best things. So yeah, that's my take. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think about my opinion. Let me know who you would want to adapt Attack on Titan. Or let me know what anime you think is the right one. Not just because you love that anime, but because you think this would be the best move on every single level. Please let me know. And thanks for watching.